If you've been following my channel for a while, you would know that I really want Hoyoverse to buff Blade. Well, after a little too long, Hoyo has finally released a character that has actual synergy with Blade, and that's going to be Jade. Now, while the synergy is there and Blade is definitely more valuable and stronger because of Jade, I do have some stuff to say about it, which isn't all positive. Now, yes, the criticism is coming out for both Blade and Jade. And I just want to say all this criticism I say in this video is completely out of love. I do really like Blade. You know what? Let me whip out the IRL for a bit. Little mini setup preview here, but you know how people make fun of Star Rail and Genshin players for spending money on PNGs? Well, I actually spend money on PNGs of Blade because I like him a lot. Oh, and there's Wander over there. So in pure fiction, Jade is genuinely really good for Blade. Blade is not her best teammate at all. Herta is much better. Himiko as well. I haven't tried her with Argenti because I don't have him, but I can assume it's probably better than using Blade as well. But Blade in pure fiction before was kind of a mediocre unit unless there was a buff that really helped them a lot. And now with Jade, even though that the pure fiction stage is not win week, I guess the second half is quantum, but the first half is not wind or quantum at all. I was almost able to 40k, and that was with my Jade half built. So I'm pretty sure you can get 40k if you just have a bit more investment in Jade or Blade. So pure fiction, double thumbs up, actually really good for Blade. The only thing that throws me off a little bit is while this is technically a buff for Blade, it doesn't really feel like the one that I personally as a Blade main really wanted. I pulled Blade because I really like the way his kit works. I also just love the idea of the Stellaron hunters, and also, I mean, just look at him. When I say I want Blade to be buffed, I don't just want his teams to get stronger, I want my boy to be the one doing the big damage. Jade buffing Blade to me, in pure fiction at least, feels the same as how Jingliu is probably Blade's best MOC team. The synergy is definitely there, and Blade is doing pretty good damage, but the star of the show is the other character. So for MOC, it would be Jingliu, and for pure fiction now, it's Jade. And even though the synergy between Blade and Jade, or Blade and Jingliu, is genuinely decent, both of those characters work better with other teammates, with me personally thinking Jingliu hypercarry is better than running her as a dual carry with Blade, and Herta is just such a broken unit for Jade because she just completely farms those follow-up stacks that once you try them together, it really doesn't feel like you're playing Jade at her full potential when you put her with Blade. And we'll talk about MOC and Apocalyptic Shadow in a little bit, but after playing Jade and Blade together, I think I have a lot better of an idea of how they could genuinely buff him. Playing Jade and Blade together, even in MOC where Jade is not getting as many follow-ups as she will in pure fiction, it almost feels like I'm playing the Ratio Topaz team with Adventuring as well, where there's just so many follow-ups and there's just so much damage happening in between your actual attacks. Now, if you haven't watched my previous Blade video, which blew up a lot and was basically the thing that kicked off this channel, I suggested that the buffs they should give Blade in terms of characters would be either a skill point heavy support or an abundance that overheals. So basically like a HP buffer disguised as abundance unit. And now after a few months and also seeing the Jade Blade duo in action, I think something like this abundance HP buffer is the best and most realistic buff that Blade could receive now. The problem with the Jade Blade team now is that there's a lot of attacks, but unlike the Ratio Topaz variation, there isn't actually a lot of damage. So while you're seeing Jade throw a lot of follow-ups, Blade's throwing a lot of follow-ups, and then if you speed tune Bronya with Blade, Blade's getting a lot of other attacks as well, you're doing a lot of chip damage, and you can't really fit Robin on the team to kind of supplement that damage with her own additional physical hits. This kind of damage is perfectly fine when you're playing in pure fiction because the mobs are really squishy and all this damage is fully AoE. But once we move to pure fiction, you come across a lot of scenarios where there is just a single boss in front of you, or maybe two elites next to each other, and you can't take advantage of how all these hits are AoE, so now you're just stuck with pretty mediocre damage. And in MOC as well, Blade is definitely the character doing the more damage. Jade isn't able to farm her follow-ups because there aren't really high target scenarios, so it's mainly Blade's basic attacks, ult and follow-up doing the majority of the damage. Now if we did get this abundance character that buffed HP, Jade would obviously not benefit too much from it, but Blade could get a pretty good increase. And then now in this team we have Bronya, who advances forward and buffs Blade. We have the abundance unit, who also buffs Blade by giving him HP, and while Jade does do some AoE damage, she acts more as an enabler by HP draining him and also giving him 30 speed so he can tune with Bronya. So while Jade is not too game changing for Blade in MOC, I definitely see that there is potential if Hoyo wants to go down that path. It doesn't have to be exactly how I described it, but Jade being pushed to more of a utility character in Blade teams and just having more buffs on the side so Blade actually does more damage will definitely make him a lot stronger. Well, that's enough coping for the future. We have no idea when our next abundance unit is coming, and we don't know if Hoyo just want to keep Blade dead in a ditch. With what we have in the game right now, Jade is pretty good, but nothing too crazy for Blade in MOC. Honestly, I was expecting worse when I looked at Jade's kit and thought of how it would function in MOC, but when playing them together, it did actually beat my expectations, as I thought it would probably be worse than Blade's existing hypercarry teams, but from what I've tested, they're pretty much on par. So just for some context, my Jade is reasonably built, I think. 75, 120, not amazing. For Lycone, we got not a free-to-play option. I have S3 of the Battle Pass one. Traces are pretty decently leveled. And then for relics, I think my relics are decent at least. We're rosing the 4 Ash Blazing, and everything has decent substats. We'll ignore that one. Don't look at that one. And then E0. And then for my Blade, I have him at 105 speed, so he is speed tuned with Bronya. 70, 140. I can have a better Blade build, but I did have to gimp his relics a little bit just so he would be able to speed tune. So we have a better body that has a bit more crit damage, sorry, right here, yeah. But I have to run this one because it has 4 speed. But overall, it's not a terrible build. And even if I did have better builds, I don't think it would make the team performance like too much better. And when I did try MOC 11, which is the only Wind Week stage that we have, I was able to get a 3-cycle clear, which is honestly not that bad. But I also got a 3-cycle clear when I played Blade Sparkle Bronya instead. And then when I used Blade Bronya Ranmei, my setup was a little messed up because my speed tune is all over the place, but that team also got a 4-cycle clear, so just a little bit slower. So Jade, despite being a pretty much pure fiction one trick, which is not a bad thing by any means, but that's what she is, she still helped Blade cleared in 3 cycles in MOC 11, which isn't terrible. It's definitely a good team. But if you already have the supports and you can use them with your Blade, it's really not that big of an improvement. Now, if you have been following stuff about Jade, you would know that if you do give her that E1, it would help her a lot in MOC, and that's 100% true. If you want to use Jade in MOC or Apocalyptic Shadow, basically low target situations, get that E1, it's going to be a lot better than getting her Lycone. But if you are an E0 player, which I think most people will be, because I don't think most people go for Eidolons, Jade is essentially just another supportive option for Blade teams. So Blade didn't really get any stronger MOC, he just got another supportive option. So if you were thinking about pulling Jade for your Blade team, one, I think it's really fun team. As I said, you get a ton of attacks. It feels like playing Ratio Topaz just for a comparison, and I'm having a lot of fun playing it, but the clear time is about the same. So if you have Ranmei Sparkle available for your Blade, it's not really much at all. It's barely an improvement if it is one, but I guess you are setting yourself up if something does help Blade out in the future. Basically, just to summarize, Blade definitely did get stronger. In pure fiction, Jade is by all means can be defined as a Blade buff. Pride wouldn't even pushed him up a tier. Like, it's actually good. But in MOC, I would say nothing really changed. Like, he got an extra teammate, but in terms of how strong he is and how well he clears, compared to his existing teams, it's pretty much the same. If we want to go back to coping a little bit, looking at Jade's kit, the HP drain part of the skill doesn't really make much sense with any character in the game except for Blade. I guess we do have Yun Li coming next patch, and she is destruction, so maybe she has something to do with that. But outside of that, that HP drain is literally there just for Blade. So Hoyo definitely have Blade on their minds, and I'm hoping they didn't just throw that HP drain in just to pretend they still care about Blade, and that they actually do have stuff planned in the future for more characters that might help him be a bit stronger.
I will dispatch of you in 8 cycles. 300k might be unreachable for me. Domain expansion. Hellscape death sentence.